But for example, just a couple, I picked out local communities. Last year, Plymouth spent $30,000 just to the League of Cities for dues.
Yeah.
Just one city, they spent $13,000 to the Metro, or AMM it's called, Association of Metro Municipalities.
Yep.
That's just Plymouth. So that's how much they spent.
I wonder what Minneapolis spends.
Well, I don't. I just happen to know that.
Oh, do you?
And
all right, your research is paying off.
well, Minneapolis, it's in the report. I'm shuffling papers
let
here.
me broaden the question a little bit, because one of the things that I know that it concerns me, I know it concerns you too, is what should the state government be doing? What should the local governments be doing? What should the school districts be doing? You know, is it, you know, what are the roles that state government should play? What should state government pay for? You know, how do we weed that? Because it seems like it's in an intertangled mess.
It is, and I will argue that that was largely creative legislating that got us into that mess. I'll answer you in two quick parts. One, something I'm finding people don't broadly know, and maybe it's because I'm a political science type and I'm a junkie on that stuff. But,
yeah, me too.
But what you'll find if you look at the Constitution, for example, contrary to what I found is popular belief even among local elected officials, cities and counties and school districts and townships, who did I miss? Whatever other levels, soil and water conservation district, are not sovereign. They are not. They are not based in the Constitution. What the Constitution allows the legislature to do is to create local governments to serve the people. And they did a number of years ago. They created 87 counties. I'm going to say, somebody will hold me to that, but 80
I'm
plus
pretty sure
counties.
you're right, yeah.
And there's over 800 cities, at least, that belong to the League of Cities. And those are created and allowed to be created over time. It's where people lived, and they were there to serve as units of government. But they were creatures or creations of the state. And I think we've lost sight of that, where now we're spending that much money that I just cited to you, not even counting the associations. Cities are spending that much money raw. Minneapolis was $400,000 plus last year. I remember that. And they're spending that money to go over to the state that created them in the first place to get money to ostensibly do what they're supposed to be doing. And then on top of that, second part is, you're hearing a lot about this because some of our cities in this district get local government aid. It's called LGA, but it's local government aid. And it stems from a program that was created in 1971 that the idea of it at the time was, and it was called the Great Minnesota Miracle. Well,
I don't know about that, but I read history.
Well, the Minnesota Miracle was that the politicians in the legislature at the time got the votes to do it. That was the miracle.
Yeah.
But the miracle, as it was sold to the public, was it was a way to even out things like public safety and public service things. So across the state, you'd have a kind of a baseline that no city would be lacking for the ability to have
police and fire.
Yeah. Well, the trouble is, since 1971, there's been all kinds of mischief. You've had cities that have taken the money and run with it and done all kinds of nice things to have and haven't been putting it to those things. And then when they run out of money or their budgets get tight, they go to the state looking for boosts in their local government aid. And I think it's funny to see, I don't mean this humorously, but I think it's ironic to see the mayor of Minneapolis on the same podium with the mayor of, and this is my favorite mythical town, East Cupcake, population 900, both standing there weeping the same tears about how the formula just isn't deriving enough income for them. And they're mad because the legislature has been manipulating it because they needed to shift money over to other things.
But that's the thing, you know, so much of the money in the state is based on formulas. There's automatic increases.
That's right.
Is something like zero-based budgeting something that the state needs to look at and say, okay, look, no more automatic increases. We're going to start with priority number one, fund that. I mean, is that a direction that maybe we need to go in, or gradually go into that?
Andrew, I would argue that, and as a legislator, if I get elected, that I would propose that the real problem is one of attitude. And I think the zero-based budgeting attitude is the right attitude. Let's not worry now about the mechanics of it as much as it's a good theory. And if every department in the state government, for example, and if every city was mandated to think in terms of zero-based budgeting every year, and you had, what do they call it, sunset on legislation where laws did not automatically renew. They had to be brought forward, put on the table, and examined as to whether
debated again.
Have these been doing what they were supposed to do? And a subject that I'm leaning towards a little bit, just briefly, it's a deep one, but I know it concerns people in the metro area, is the Metropolitan Council. It was founded over 40 years ago as a great social experiment. A lot of planners found the right political atmosphere, convinced people. But you know what? You know what led to the advent of the Metro Council? It was the realistic realization, that with the suburban development that was about to boom, and it did, we were going to have some major problems with disposing of our sewage. And the Metro Council's birthright had to do with the processing of sewage for the area that got to be defined as the 7-county metro area.
They've morphed into everything else from there, I can tell you.
Morphed isn't the word for it. It has blossomed and exploded and gone on, and the legislature to date has never stopped it and said, let's see how we've done. Are we in 2012 where the planners back in 1969 thought we were going to be, for example? What have we really achieved? Do you think Metro? Most people don't. Do you worry each day about what's going on over in Washington County or down in Scott County? I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I'm just saying we don't think anymore as Metro citizens than we ever did.
Well, plus the metro area is now defined all the way from Lakeville to Elk River.
That's the real metro area. But the law still says it's 7 counties. And it's almost ludicrous. It's saying that there's special things that need to be in the 7-county area. But if you just go up the road a bit into Wright County or into, help me out, Sherburne County or Chisago County, go up there and ask those people what they think about becoming members of our big family down here, the Metro Council. They do not want it, and their legislators make that very clear every year over at the legislature whenever that comes up. Well, I'm suggesting going a step further than that. There is a zero-based budget, stop the train, and no pun on train, to look at this and say, shouldn't this maybe be stopped? Do we really need this anymore? Suburban development came and went. We know how to process sewage big time. Why do we need the Metro Council? They used to just have a waste control commission, even with buses and transit. And I don't want to go into the train issue. We don't have enough time probably. But what I'm trying to say,
a whole other bucket.
There was a transit commission, and it operated and it ran the trains and ran the buses and so on. But you didn't need the umbrella organization of Metro Council that actually has a taxation power, and they're unelected.
That's right. I've checked my property taxes. They definitely have taxation authority.
So I guess I think there's a lot of room for new thinking in the legislature, and that's what I would take to it, and not to just shake things up idly and for the heck of it, but to stop and take a hard look at things rather than assuming that because it's there it's good and therefore we ought to keep funding it blindly without questioning what the mission is and what it's all about. How is it benefiting the people?
All right. Well, we're the time again just always flies by. Blair, why don't you take a little minute here to, where can we find you on the web? Give us your contact info. And go ahead and do that.
I do have a website. It's at, surprisingly, blairtremere.com.
I never guessed that.
And I don't know if my name comes up on the TV, but it's BlairTremere. And I live in Golden Valley. And I do have that website, as I said, and you can also find me through the different voter websites, including that of Mr. Secretary of State Ritchie, and click on the right links, and there I am. I would appreciate people's support, and I think I can bring to the legislature a perspective that I've gleaned from local government experience where it's closest to the people, where performance is expected, and you know whether you've done a good job or not almost instantly. And I think if more legislators had that attitude, and I know there's a lot of mayors and council members over there, but I guess, or former ones.
They get co-opted, I think.
Well, I think maybe they do, and I guess it's time for maybe some fresh air.
Well, that sounds good. All right. BlairTremere.com. Go out and find Blair. You can email him and ask for a sign, do all that stuff, one-stop
Right.
shop. Okay. Well, thanks for coming
you,
on, Blair. I
Andrew.
appreciate the time.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
All right. Well, that's another show in the can, show number 144. And remember, in January, my lucrative contract got renewed. We will be back for season 5. I got a great agent. We will be back for season 5 in January. Till then, folks, have a good night. Remember to vote.